Hey guys, what's up and welcome to a new Tesla update video. So today, as per usual, let's go over Tesla stock, let's go over the market and figure out what is happening today and what we can expect really moving forward. So with all that being said and done, ladies and gentlemen, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that like button. I would appreciate it. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. And of course, my membership section is live. The link is down below in the description. For just $2.99 a month, you get access to all my intraday thoughts, posts, updates, etc. Every single day that the market is open, I constantly post them. And today we pretty much called it. I told my members pretty much right in the morning how I pretty much expect today to be a slow bleed off / sideways kind of day. And I don't know where it was exactly. I put it somewhere over here. You can pause the video and read through all these that I posted today if you want. But yeah, pretty much that's exactly what happened, right? Pretty much a nothing burger sort of day. Even though the market is up pretty substantially, right? QQQ up a 2%, even SPY's up 1.25%, which is pretty substantial, most likely off of Apple's, of course, massive run up where the biggest share buyback in history. That's when you know a company's not innovating anymore. When they're buying, all their money is just going to buying back shares. You know, that's just, I mean, hey, it works. It props the stock up. That's all that matters, really, I guess. But anyway, yeah, Tesla on the day, obviously 9 more minutes left, but it seems like we're going to be closing somewhere around this 181.5-ish level because that's pretty much where we traded the vast majority of the day, which is going to be up about 0.75%, which obviously an underperformance compared to the market. But let's talk about what this means moving into next week. So first and foremost, let's talk about, let's dive into the weekly, right? The weekly candle is on the verge of closing and it's going to be looking something like this, which honestly is a bit of a, you know, there's not much to say about this weekly candle, unfortunately, right? What we have, of course, is the reversion to the mean, right? We were, like I said, many times over here, we were very oversold on the weekly time frame, especially RSI was oversold, etc. But RSI is looking healthy. MACD is on the verge, not yet, but close to flipping bullish, which is good. Stochastic is looking pretty solid. And honestly, Tesla, like I said many times, and I will continue saying many times, overall, the structure to me now officially for Tesla looks short to medium term bullish, right? Long-term bullish would be a breakout of the overall downtrend that we are in, or long-term bearish would be a break of the, you know, this, the green line. Long-term bullish would be the red line, right? Essentially, if we break above one of those two bad boys anytime within the next, let's say, couple months, that'll be pretty much anything above really 230 and anything really below, like we'll just say 145-ish. Right, if we start dropping below those kind of levels and start closing weeklies below or above one of those levels, well, that's bullish or bearish in that respective direction. So that's kind of the main thing on the weekly time frame, right? But ultimately, we reverted back to the mean when we were oversold, and now the stock is essentially, reset. I guess is the main thing I'm trying to say. So that's kind of the main thing on the weekly time frame to see, right? That's kind of the main thing to eyeball here and, to understand, right? The weekly time frame is reset. Now, whether or not where we go next, well, we have to look at other time frames to kind of figure that out. And a bit of a shorter time frame, but I think longer term Tesla overall looks pretty good, or like medium-ish term, we'll say. Now, looking at the daily really quickly, right? Let's take away this indicator. For now, we have a bit of a potential doji candle, right? Where we're pretty much closing where we opened, roughly, right? And that's going to be a sign of indecision, right? It's a sign of indecision. And the fact that we're in this little weird situation where we're technically now in a short-term uptrend, but even shorter than that, like within the last week, we're arguably in a downtrend because, we're setting up this potential bull flag, if you will, right? We have a doji candle, which honestly just shows indecision. And the way I look at this is pretty simple, right? Moving forward, if we can essentially close a daily candle pretty much anywhere above, I would say to be like a little bit safer, like above 185. If we can start closing daily candles above 185, I'd expect at the very least a run up to about this mid-ish 190s once again that we just did. Potentially set up a double top, maybe. I don't think we will though. But at the very least about to that level, if not all the way up to this line over here at 205, which will be a retest back here, right? At the very least at 205. So roughly around, very high 190s to very low 200s is where I would see if we start closing daily candles above 185, right? $185 per share. That's kind of the main thing I'm looking at for the upside. The bottom side or the downside, the way I'm looking at it is if we started closing daily candles pretty much below 180, really. And I don't mean like, 180 exactly on the dot like we did the past couple of days, or like, 179.90. I mean like, below 180, like if you want to maybe extra cushion, if you will, to get a little bit of an idea, like 179.5, let's just say something like that, right? Give or take. Then that to me tells me there's a bit more downside, right? And personally right now, if I really had to pick a direction, like if I was just told to just, hey, pick a direction right now, where do you think is going next? Unfortunately, I would say I think there's a bit of a higher likelihood it goes down than up. Now, again, not crazy because, we are kind of in this like weird limbo land right here where we're kind of trading in between, ranges that can dictate the next move, whether it's up or down, right? if I had to pick, it's going to be to the downside, mainly because I think the market is going to start cooling off soon off of this massive gap up and run up next week. I do believe that. And if that were to happen, on top of also Tesla, the way it's looking like right now, I still wanted to, on the daily chart, to return to the mean, essentially, right? Remember how I said back when we were up here, how I personally do expect it to eventually revert back to that mean? Exactly what we just did on the weekly chart, right? We were oversold, obviously all the way down here. We reverted back to the mean, this white line right there. Same idea on the daily, right? Now we're just on the opposite side of the spectrum. And I said even back here when we were on this candle, you can look back to this video. What is it, like Monday or something like that, right? I said how, we're very overextended. People kept saying it's going to continue rallying. I'm like, well, I don't think it will, right? And we obviously have been cooling off since then, as I expected. But I unfortunately would not be surprised if there's a bit more of a cool off moving forward, like next week, the week after, some part of May, right? Maybe like half of May or something like that, where we do cool off a little bit further, unfortunately, and truly revert back to the mean as it slowly makes its way back up to us. And I really wouldn't be surprised if sometime, maybe in the middle of next week even, right? We do meet this mean reversion, which will slowly work its way up to us as we're slowly working our way down to it, and meet us somewhere in that mid to low 170s, which will line up pretty well with this fair value gap, which we've arguably filled already, right? But even more so this volume profile, which I still expect us to come down to retest, right? It's acted as a resistance before. I want it to act as a support, right? So I still expect us to come back down to this volume profile rough level, right? I still expect us to come back down to this 50-day moving average. We got pretty close to it yesterday, but I want to see a more, like convincing retest of it. You know what I mean? Like I really want to actually get to this 50-day moving average, and I really want to like pretty much touch it, if you will, also, or at least get really damn close, like a lot closer than even this, right? This is close, but it was still like $2 off. I want to get within like 50 cents, honestly. That's what I want to see, right? And I still think that's a possibility for next week, maybe the week after. I don't know the time frame, but sometime relatively soon is what I'm personally expecting right now, mainly also because the stochastic is looking like it's losing a little bit of momentum. Now, with that being said, even if we do come down to these levels right here, the 50-day moving average, let's say it moves the 20-day moving average, or that mean reversion line, which is this white line right here, right? Let's say it does move up and pretty much coincides pretty much right around this kind of, 172, 173-ish level. That's going to line up perfectly. I think that'll act as a massive support. And I still think Tesla will look phenomenal. And I think it'll get pretty close to filling this gap at 168, which I don't think it will, at least not yet, but it'll get pretty close, right? And I think a lot of people will get kind of baited by that, thinking that it's going to come down to 168 to gap fill. They'll be like, okay, I'll buy there, and it actually never does. But I do think it will do this kind of mini gap fill where it touches the top of this wick from before this gap up, which is pretty much sitting around 172. So again, somewhere around that 172, 173, that's kind of the level I'm still roughly expecting. Again, maybe 174, but just something around that level is a level I'm still eyeballing. I'm still expecting, I'm still thinking is going to happen. But again, you want to look at those levels I just mentioned to be a bit more certain as to, what we can actually expect moving forward, and to, what we can, again, the 185 break. Okay, now maybe, forget everything I said, at least for now, we're going to 205 roughly, right? Or again, we close below 180, a more convincing close below 180, maybe even below 179.5. Okay, cool. Now we're probably finally going to be making our way back down to about 173, as I believe also the market begins to, start its cool off once again as well. So that's kind of the overall, consensus that I have right now. Again, overall, very, 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 very short term, I personally, if I had to pick a direction, lean a little bit bearish here. I do think there's a bit more of a cool off to happen here, but overall, the structure, like I said for many, many times, Tesla has completed my 3 steps. Remember when we were talking about it, when we were still trading down here, I talked about the 3 important steps I want to see. I want to see a bottom signal. We had that. Well, I want to see, which of course was off a massive trend line. I want to see a break above 160. We got that. And then I said the final step, the most important step in my opinion, to potentially resume this uptrend and then to get back up to that 230 level to then test that, final boss trend line that I just showed you, that red line, is going to be breaking above pretty much this like 180-ish, we'll just say 180, 183-ish level, which essentially is going to be the recent high that we had back over here, which we broke above that. That's a break of character or break of structure, right? And that's really, really good. And now all we need to do is come down, kind of cool off, revert to the mean, reset the stock, reignite fresh buyers, right? Set a fresh higher low. And that to me is going to be a reignition to moving up to the next level, which at the very least will be 205. Even if we do get this drawdown to, 173-ish, whatever, I still think that, We'll come back up to 205 roughly, and then from there we'll of course revisit it, as to if and when it actually happens. But I do expect Tesla to at least come here, and then ultimately in June I would not be surprised to see something along the lines of 220s, 230s as well. That's kind of the overall consensus that I see right now. Tesla with the bullish flow today, right? You can see about 70 million bullish flow on Tesla, which is great to see, right? In terms of option flow and cheddar flow, by the way, I have both of these down below if you're interested. Black Box and cheddar flow, both of them are option services, right? You have a discount if you use my link down below. I recommend at least subscribing to one of them. This has a bit more information, but cheddar flow is a little bit easier to read, so it really depends on what you prefer. But cheddar flow here, you can see nothing crazy came in today. We had a 2.7 million call over here, right, for again the January 2025, and this is the kind of the repeating story I've always been saying for like the past weeks, right? I constantly see whales. If a whale steps in, more often than not, it's a leap, right? They're usually buying leaps, right? Which is of course option contracts that are usually at least 1 year out, usually maybe even 2 or something like that, years out, right? 2025, 2026, right? Things like that, right? I see a lot of whales stocking up on leaps, and I'm still seeing that happen. You can literally see one right down here for 2.7 million, right? 200 call, again, January 17th, 2025. So yeah, that's kind of the overall thought process I have right now. So yeah, if you enjoyed these kind of videos, if you find them helpful, if you find them useful, whatever, then I would appreciate a like button. I would also appreciate, if you would check out my membership section. Again, just $2.99 a month. You pretty much get this kind of information every single day that I'm trading. So if you're interested, that link is below as well. But all that being said and done, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you for the next one. Peace.